Guess who just did an intro and about half of the content of the first part of the video and forgot to unmute my mic? We'll never know. Hashtag professional as always. Hello! Nice to see you. I hope you are happy and healthy and safe and all the other good things. I am Mauriceware. Nice to see you. Let's see if we can do this one right this time. So some very exciting news. This is a quick update video. I'm trying to do it without much editing. Already messed that one up, didn't I? Oh well. But last Saturday, some of you already know this. If you've watched my live stream on Thursday or Monday, I talked about it. But on Saturday, last Saturday, 3 weeks since the game jam began, where I created Skewered, I have just taken down the original files and replaced them with version 1.1, which is super, super exciting. So version 1.1 is basically what I was trying to do for the game jam. It's like what my vision was, everything that I wanted to get in. So it's just a couple of asset changes, a couple of bits and pieces. I'm about to go through the list. It's a short list. So there's no new mechanics or features. That wasn't the point. The point of it was to take the game I'd already made and just tweak out bugs and issues and upload it. So now it's the same game. It looks the same. It feels the same. It's just a little bit better and a little bit fixed. But the first issue I fixed was the fact that you couldn't resize the game before. There was a reason it was WebGL only, and that's because I apparently don't know how canvases work, and Unity UI makes me cry inside, even though I really like UI design. So before it was WebGL only because it just wouldn't work at any other resolution. That has been fixed. That was a thing. Banged my head against a wall many hours to try and sort all that out, but it's now done and fixed and happy. So you can now get the files for Mac, Windows and Linux, as well as playing it on WebGL. They're all free to download, but you can now play them on other things, which is awesome. That was always the intention. It just didn't work out. I've also fixed the text box behind the text. So you had a black box behind the text, you could either turn it on or off. Now you can change the opacity so that you can have it darker or lighter, as well as just turning it off completely. I added my new characters, 12 new characters. You might have seen me working on them in live stream. It was always meant to be 12, but for various reasons, mainly due to a 9-hour blackout on one of the days, it just didn't happen and they didn't make it in. But I've now put them in. They are now happy, chilling with the other crew. And because before you had the client, which would be like the person who says, oh, I want something really subtle, please don't make it too obvious. And you would have the sprite image. And they would always be the same because they were like hard code paired up. Now they're not. Now what happens is you have a random client choice and it will pick one, like I want something subtle, and then that will choose a random character choice which will give you the body sprite and the other sprites, the faces. So now any character sprite can go with any client choice. And I might change that in future, or maybe they go with 4 of them or something. There's like but they can choose out of them. They're not paired now, so you could see the same sprites twice, but it'd be a different client. I fixed the randomness a little bit. It's still not perfect. I didn't ever want it to never be possible for 2 things to come up in the same week. Like I never wanted to completely remove that, but before, the worst randomness you could get was literally 1 1 1 1 1 1. You could get the same client 6 times, and I have frequently play tested the game and gotten the same person 4 times. Some of them with exactly the same intro text. So that's something I wanted to fix. So now what I do is I keep track of the previous client and the second previous client, and I check if they match them, and if they match either of them, they choose again. So now it's the worst randomness you can get is now 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the other thing I did, the last thing, just a small thing that looks really good, is the ugly grey buttons, the like buttons that just didn't fix, which actually looked pretty cool but just didn't fit. And the sort of sliders and drop downs and stuff, they have all been changed to be more in line aesthetically. I don't think the drop downs necessarily work so well because they can be a little bit hard to read, but you have to kind of click on it and then it comes up in nice big text. So I do think that's something that needs tweaked, but they look so much better. They fit so much better. So that is what I have done. That is the game, basically. That's the list of things I have done for version 1.1, which is very, very exciting. All the information down below. You can go and play the game. You can go and check it out. You can download it, whatever you want. Since then, though, that was a week ago, but since then, I have been busy. This is Skewered, but not as you know it. This is now the next. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if this might be a version 1.1.1, so a small update with some stuff, some really important stuff, or whether it will be a potential version 1.2 with a lot of different changes. I don't know yet. This is new territory we're in now. So this works exactly the same as it did before. I have got music turned off, but the music is still in the game. I now have an exit game button. Yes. When you build for WebGL, you forget that people need to be able to exit your game, because on WebGL they can just refresh the page. So now there is an exit button. There is also a credits page, which includes the music credit instead of that being stuck on the settings page, and a back button. We have the version down at the bottom here, version 1. Currently I've set it to version 1.1.1 because that's what it will be, unless it becomes so big that it's not, if you see what I mean. The biggest thing here is actually, well, there's two things. So one, the audio, where's my audio? I've actually hooked everything up to a proper audio mixer instead of just taking the clip and feeding it straight through an audio source and playing it. It actually now goes through a mixer, so I can now mix different volumes and add different things in. It's going to be really good. So it now uses a logarithmic scale to drop the volume, which is fantastic. And the other thing that's really important is that I have done a bunch of code refactoring. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but now I have my scene controller, which I always had, which does the, end the game or do the stars at the end, figure out how many points the person gets, all that stuff. I've got a shop client who actually chooses the client option and the character option and sets all the sort of intro texts and the responses and makes sure I don't choose the previous client twice and things like that. That controls all the stuff that the characters are doing. And I have a UI controller, which is all my sort of setting stuff. The quitting the game or opening the settings menu, setting the size and colours of things and the opacity and the volume and all that stuff's done in the UI manager. It works a lot better now. It uses an enum, or it uses two enums to now do everything, so I don't have to manually type stuff in because that was just ridiculous. And I'm now populating the drop downs with code instead of manually typing them in. So obviously, one, it's a lot less work, and two, it's a lot less prone to error. And then this is never seen before, aside from yesterday. on stream Thursdays, 7 p.m. GMT. I do a tech stream where I work on game design and stuff, and for the next foreseeable future, it will be this game. This might look a little bit different. This is not, it's not obviously correct. But here, I've started laying out the UI elements. Because as you know, and as I have alluded to a minute ago, I don't know how UI and canvases and stuff works. But I seem to have managed to figure it out. So everything stays relative to each other and everything stays relative to itself, and it's awesome. And it works at all resolutions. Obviously, again, these are not the right sizes, and they won't necessarily be the right placement. Obviously, I can't perfectly predict the placement of things until I know what elements need to actually be put in, but this is a start. It's like a guideline for how would I want things to be laid out. The fact that these buttons are in a layout group, I'm just getting those elements in, getting the text in, all that stuff, just getting a bare bones basic structure in of the UI so that I can then play with other things. So we've got our version down here, version 1.1.1 again, our settings button as we had before, and then we've got start, we've got credits, and we've got quit. These buttons aren't all hooked up either, or some of them are hooked up and don't actually work. Again, I haven't finished yet. The game canvas I haven't done at all. That's the one with the actual people on it and the text and the actual gameplay. That I haven't started yet. The end canvas, we have a background image, home button to take us back to the front screen. And then we have the stars, the amount of stars that the person earned. Credits, home button, and then the credits, and then settings. Now this is the one that's changed the most. This down the side here, this is a set of tabs. So this will be like general settings, and then this is obviously visual settings, audio settings. So you've got your mute and your volume and things like that are still there, and then so we can now flick between tabs. And here we have our font choice, so we can go from a fancy choice, which is maybe a bit harder to read for some people, to a plain choice, which is much easier to read. Now, if any of you have seen recently just how much hassle I've been having with slider bars and color pickers, you will know how happy I am to have doing this. I struggled for so long with a few different color pickers, either because they didn't work out of the box like they said they did, or just because they were really hard to hook up. This, I dragged it and dropped it, and it was happy days. So very, very pleased I have slimmed this down. It actually comes with more options and stuff, but this is the version I'm having in the game, nice slimmed down version. And so this is what will be used to set the color of the font and the color of the background text boxes, the color of like highlighted elements, that sort of thing. It can be used for all sorts of things. I am so happy that I've got it in properly. All these panels and things will not be visible. They are either to constrain certain elements, or they are just a visual representation for me as a placeholder of where certain things have to go. So that is the game as it's looking at the moment. If you saw all the messages down the bottom here, I can't run it for very long because nothing's hooked up properly, so it gets very angry. I am really happy with how it's gone. So I hope you think those changes are interesting. I hope you think that looks like some cool progress. I'm super happy with it. I'm really, really glad with what I've got done. Currently, my accessibility list is you can change the text size, you can change the text color, you can enable or disable the text box, you can change text box color, you can change the text box opacity, you can adjust the game volume, you can mute or sound, or you can change the font. Those are the current options that I've got in for accessibility. I realise that's like a limited option, a limited number at the moment, but we are slowly adding more just over time as we go along. I have, again, linked below, all the information below, I have set up a Trello board, a public Trello board. I will link it below, and you can go on there and you can comment and you can vote. So if you click on the options, you can read more information about them. I've tried to be quite detailed, or I've tried to be clear about what a feature actually means, and you can click on it and vote. So if lots of people go in and vote on, say, getting voice acting in, and loads of people say, do you know what, I would like voice acting to be the priority. That's the thing I think would be like the biggest important thing for the game. Then that's what I'll focus on. I'll start looking for voice actors. I'll start pricing things up. I'll start working out how to do it. That sort of thing. That's how I'll work out what people actually want in my game, is what on those lists have been voted for. In the meantime, I have decided what my next biggest mechanic is going to be. This is new. This is a version 2 thing. So even if I release a version 1.1.1, this mechanic won't be in it. It'll be the refactoring and the credits page and the settings and that stuff. The new mechanic is going to be players being able to drag and drop the piercing onto the client. So those two drop down bars for the location and the jewelry type, of course they're placeholder. The game was made in a week. You got to do what you got to do. But the idea is that now the client will come in, they'll say, I want a piercing that's really visible. And you'll say, okay, let's do it. And it will move to a different screen or a different angle. Or it will say, here are the jewelry types. And you'll click one or choose one. And then you'll go over to the person, and there'll be like an asset, just a plain sprite of a person. And as you hover over, it will show the different locations that you can do the piercing, and you'll choose one, and then it will come back out, and they'll give their response. They'll give their feedback on whether they're happy or not, like they do at the moment. And the difference is, I'm hoping if I can get all the sprites to line up well enough, because I was supposed to be doing all the sprites so they all face the same way and they're all about the same proportions, so that the stuff like this was easier, and that's not happened. But what I want is for when you come back out after you've done the piercing, the actual character sprite will have the piercing on them if it's a visible piercing. So that's the big thing. That's not going to be like, I'm not going to be turning up in 2 weeks' time and saying, hey, it's done, it's in. This is a big major mechanic that's going in, and it's going to take some time, and it's going to involve me having to learn how to do a lot of stuff that I don't currently know how to do. So, but it's going to be good fun. It's going to be really interesting. So that is definitely coming up. So please do join the Discord if you can. Join the Discord, and you will get updates, and I will be telling you how it's going, and I will be letting you know about progress and all sorts of other things. And it's a really good way. You can also give suggestions on there. You can get all the links to everything on there. Have a look at the Trello board if you're interested. Vote on the thing that you think is most important. If you liked this video, if you want to keep getting these updates, please do subscribe and like below. It's really, really helpful. I also have a Patreon if you want to support me. Have a look at the game. Go and check out Skewered version 1.1. Super excited. Very excited for the next version coming up. I will keep working on it. Every Thursday, 7 o'clock GMT, will be more game design, usually working on Skewered. Sometimes I turn up with a specific thing I want to get done. Sometimes we're just seeing how things go. If you're not so into the game design, but you like the updates, but you're not so into watching it, then Wednesdays, 7 p.m. GMT, I do an arts and crafts stream where I'll be doing something creative. Last Wednesday, a few days ago, we did polymer clay and made some really cool looking beads. So check that out if you're interested in that more. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you next time. Stay happy and healthy and safe. Bye for now. I need to get used to doing this end plug bit because I'm not used to this yet, and I think it shows.